Thank you for letting me share with you today. I'd like to start by having us slow down for a moment. Let you take a deep breath, feel your breath, notice your feet on the floor, your body resting in the chair, and the presence of this community gathered here. Now, I want you to bring to mind, you may have already done this earlier when we were thinking about gratitude, but think of something specific that you're grateful for right now. It could be a warm cup of coffee this morning, a text from a friend, or the way the sunlight is falling through the window, maybe. Once you have that in mind, I want you to take a moment and trace it back. Who helped bring this moment to you? Who made the coffee? Who designed the mug? Who taught you to savor that quiet ritual? And keep tracing it back. Who put the coffee on the shelf at the store? Who drove the coffee to the store? Who harvested the beans? Who planted the crop? Each connection leads to another. A person, a choice, an accident of timing. So soon you start to see that your small gratitude is part of a much larger web. Countless people, moments, and conditions that made it possible. This practice, sometimes called dependent origination in Buddhism or recognizing the good in Judaism, helps us remember that gratitude isn't just about what we have. It's about the relationships and causes that brought us here. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. called it an inescapable network of mutuality. We're all connected, and we forget that all the time, but gratitude helps to bring it back. And that's where I want to begin today, with this idea that gratitude isn't a solo act. It's not something we hold in isolation. It's a shared current that moves between us. Sometimes it flows in the obvious places through kindness, generosity, or love, and sometimes it hides in the hardest places. Like in the experience of Corrie ten Boom, who was imprisoned in Ravensbrück concentration camp during World War II with her sister Betsy for hiding Jews and others persecuted by Nazis. Here's how Corrie herself described it in The Hiding Place. We lay back, struggling against the nausea that swept over us from the reeking straw. Suddenly I sat up, striking my head on the cross slats above. Something had pinched my leg. "Fleas," I cried. "Betsy, this place is swarming with them. Here and here, another one?" I wailed. "Betsy, how can we live in such a place?" Show us how." It was said so matter-of-factly, it took me a second to realize she was praying. "Corrie," she said excitedly, "he's given us the answer in the Bible this morning. Where was it? Read that part again." I glanced down the long, dim aisle to make sure no guard was in sight, then drew the book from its pouch. In the feeble light, I turned the pages. Here it is. "Comfort the frightened, help the weak, be patient with everyone, see that none of you repays evil for evil, but always seek to do good to one another and to all." It seemed written expressly to Ravensbrück. "Go on," said Betsy. "That wasn't all." "Oh yes, rejoice always, give thanks in all circumstances." That's it, Corrie, that's the answer. Give thanks in all circumstances. That's what we can do. We can start right now to give thanks for every single thing about this new barracks. I stared at her, then around me at the dark, foul-aired room. "Such as," I said, "such as being assigned here together." I bit my lip. "Oh, yes. Such as what you're holding in your hands." I looked down at the Bible. "Thanks. Yes, thank you, dear Lord. There was no inspection when we entered here. Thank you for all these women here in this room who will meet you in these pages." "Yes," said Betsy. "Thank you for the very crowding here, since we're packed so close. The many more will hear." Betsy feels like that enthusiastic pet that wants to wake you in the morning when you want to keep sleeping. Corrie continues. She looked at me expectantly. "Corrie," she prodded. "Oh, all right. Thank you for the jammed, crammed, stuffed, packed, suffocating crowds." "Thank you," Betsy went on serenely, "for the fleas and for—" "The fleas?" This was too much, Betsy. "There's no way even God can make me grateful for a flea." "Give thanks in all circumstances," she quoted. It doesn't say in pleasant circumstances. Fleas are part of this place where God has put us. And so we stood between tiers and bunks and gave thanks for fleas. But this time, I was sure Betsy was wrong. Back at the barracks, we formed yet another line to receive our ladle of soup in the center room. Then, as quickly as we could for the press of people, Betsy and I made our way to the rear of the dormitory room where we held our worship service. They were services like no others, these times in Barracks 28. At first, Betsy and I called these meetings with great timidity, but as night after night went by and no guard ever came near us, We grew bolder. So many now wanted to join us that we even held a second service after evening roll call. There, on the Lagerstrasse, we were under rigid surveillance. Guards were in their warm wool capes, marching constantly up and down. It was the same in the center room of the barracks. Half a dozen guards or camp police always present. Yet in the large dormitory room, there was almost no supervision at all. We did not understand it. One evening, I got back to the barracks late from wood gathering outside the walls. Betsy was waiting for me so that we could wait through the food line together. Her eyes were twinkling. "You're looking extraordinary pleased with yourself," I told her. "You know, we've never understood why we had so much freedom in the big room," she said. Well, I found out. That afternoon, she said, there had been some confusion in her knitting group about sock sizes, and they'd asked the supervisor to come and settle it. But she wouldn't. She wouldn't step through the door, and neither would the guards. And you know why? Betsy could not keep her triumph from her voice. Because of the fleas. That's what she said. That place is crawling with fleas. My mind rushed back to our first hour in this place. I remembered Betsy's thanks for creatures I could see no use for. Corey's story reminds us that gratitude is not about denying pain or pretending everything is fine. Gratitude is about seeing threads of grace, connection, and meaning, even in places where we least expect them. As Reverend Janet Parsons writes, as difficult as it may be, we cannot wait until everything is going well to practice gratitude. We cannot wait until there is no war, no poverty, no injustice, and no terrorism. In fact, gratitude can be an act of defiance, a conscious decision to accept what is taking place in our lives and in our world as they are, and to choose to say thank you anyway, saying, yes, I know this life is not all I hoped it, all I wanted, but I can see a way to find goodness in it anyway. Betsy and Corey embody that defiant kind of gratitude, the kind that doesn't erase pain, but transforms it into courage. The poet David Whyte writes, gratitude arises from paying attention, from being awake in the presence of everything that lives within and without us. Gratitude begins with noticing, being awake. It is a posture of presence, a way of being fully alive to what is here, and it can be cultivated. Neuroscientists today are helping us understand what's happening in our brains and bodies when we practice gratitude. Andrew Huberman, a professor of neurobiology at Stanford, has studied what kind of gratitude practices are most effective. Here's what's surprising. Gratitude isn't most powerful when we sit down and make a list of things that we're grateful for. That's helpful, but the data shows it's not what changes us most deeply. The most powerful practice is when we receive gratitude or witness a story of gratitude. Think about it. When you hear a story of someone being helped, when you see kindness exchanged, something stirs inside you. And that's not sentimental fluff. That's your brain imaging shows that receiving or witnessing gratitude lights up areas of the brain connected with empathy, social connection, and resilience. It literally shifts us out of circuits of fear and defense and into circuits of caring and belonging. I'm going to repeat that again. Gratitude shifts us out of the circuits of fear and defense and into circuits of care and belonging. Think of it like a giant remote control. You can flip from the fear and defense channel over to the connection and joy channel, and hopefully you won't lose it in your couch cushions like I do. Here's the best part. The effect lasts. Repeat the practice, even for a minute or two at a time, and those brain pathways strengthen. Gratitude becomes easier to access, more natural, more available when life gets difficult. So gratitude is not just a nice idea, it's something that rewires us. A couple of years ago, a friend of mine was hit by a car while on her bike, and she's an avid reader and would be spending some time resting and recovering, and I wanted to send her some books to read. And I searched through her Goodreads profile, and she's a pretty avid reader, so there were like over 900 books, and I was trying to not repeat something, but I very specifically selected some books that I thought she would enjoy and sent them to her, not just from Amazon, because she also works at an independent bookstore, and we can't have Amazon books. But I sent them to her, and then she returned this thank you note to me, and she just said, I wanted to thank you for sending me those books. I believe this was the most thoughtful gift I've ever received. I was so touched by it. I'm looking forward to each title. And I still keep this note in my car because it gives me such a boost to feel that joy that she felt and that connection between us. So I want you to imagine someone who thanked you and really meant it. Remember how that felt. Or imagine a story you've heard where someone received kindness that was impactful. That feeling, that glow, that's your brain rewiring in real time. Of course, science gives us insight, but daily life demands practice. On the Rich Life podcast, host Lane Kawaoka put it bluntly, at some point, life is gonna get you. Practicing gratitude now means you'll be ready, not to avoid hardship, but to face it with resilience. He compared gratitude to training before the game. If you wait until you're already down a few touchdowns, you'll be scrambling. But if you've trained your heart in gratitude ahead of time, you'll have the resilience to face the setbacks and still see opportunities for growth. He went on to say something that struck me. Perfectionism is actually the lowest standard because there is no standard of being perfect. You're going to fail, and you're going to fail a lot. If you're able to appreciate those failures, then you're going to see them as stepping stones to growth, progress, more happiness, and fulfillment. It's not just good advice for high achievers, it's a wisdom for all of us. Gratitude reframes failure. It keeps us from collapsing under the weight of perfectionism. It helps us notice progress, not just flaws. So we have two voices speaking here. One, Huberman, shows us the why. Gratitude changes our brain, our chemistry, our very state of being. The other, Kawaoka, shows us the how. Gratitude is a daily practice, like training a muscle, so that when life gets hard, you're prepared. Together, they teach us this. Gratitude is both a gift and a discipline. It reshapes us and prepares us. So what does this mean for us? It means that gratitude is not just something we feel, it's something we practice, and we can start small. Here are 3 invitations. First, choose one story of gratitude that matters to you, maybe when someone thanked you or when you witnessed kindness. And I want you to write down a few bullet points to remind yourself of it. And then once or twice a week, revisit that story in your mind. And this practice lights up the same brain pathways that Huberman studied. 2, daily noticing. When you wake up or when you go to bed, name one small thing that you're grateful for that day. Just one. The sun on your face, a friend's text, a warm meal. I'm not very good at gratitude journals, but I do have, maybe some of you might too, this Finch little mental health app. It's a super cute little pet, and it has like these little daily goals you can put on it. And one of them for me is, like most of them are just minor because you get a little dopamine boost when you're checking off like, okay, I took the kids to school, even though you're supposed to do that anyway. But I have on there to say one thing I'm grateful for. And so I try not to just like lightly check that off. I try to like sit for a moment and then be reminded of something to be grateful for and to think intentionally about that. It's not fancy, but it keeps me grounded. And I think that's the heart of it. Gratitude doesn't need to be grand to be transformative. The third invitation, the next is to reframe failure. The next time something goes wrong, pause. Instead of only asking, why me? Also ask, what might I learn from this? What gratitude could I carry through this? There have been times recently in our world and in our communities when it's been hard to find gratitude. There's been a lot of heaviness, but right now I continue to witness people coming together, going to Indivisible and events and coming together in ways that they might not have before. And they're lifting one another, standing together, and doing what they know is right. So when we practice these acts, when reframe failure, it's a way to prepare your heart for resilience. So gratitude is both a reflection and action, noticing and then sharing. All right, we're gonna do this again. You guys might be tired of talking to each other. We did it earlier, but I'm gonna ask you to turn to the person next to you and tell them something you're grateful for right now. Bonus points if it's about them. All right, so as a reminder, gratitude doesn't erase hardship. It doesn't deny pain, but it gives us eyes to see more than the difficulty. Earlier, we began by tracing the connections to one small thing that we were grateful for. As we end, I invite you to remember that every act of gratitude you offer also travels outward through unseen connections to others. We are part of one another's gratitude chains, one another's stories. David White's words echo again. Gratitude arises from paying attention, from being awake in the presence of everything that lives within and without us. So may we be awake, may we notice, may we practice gratitude, not just on the easy days, but on the hard ones too. Because gratitude is more than a feeling, it is a thread that connects us, sustains us, and carries us forward. May it be so.